Hello, and thank you for watching our statistics tutorial. This is for the final project for Kansas State University Stat 705, and we use the SPSS program instead of R, and so we needed to use this program because we thought it'd be easier, but we also thought it'd be easier to do a video tutorial instead of just typing everything out. So I'm going to open two files to get started. I'm going to open my dummy copy file of our raw data and this syntax file. I already have them open, so this is the copy dummy file, and then this is our syntax file on the right here. And I'm going to talk you through the syntax file. These are all of our current variables, so notice we have quite a few. That has ethnicity, location, demographic information, as well as the mental health metrics. However, they are not scored, so I'll walk you through how we scored them using this, or at least a brief walkthrough. You're welcome to look at the code and be able to piece it together. I'll explain what each part of the code means, and I think you'll be able to piece it together. And then lastly, notice that it stops at 204. After we run this, we'll have a bunch of extra variables that are going to go into our analysis, which is great. So to start, we had to score all the tests, specifically some of the tests, like the agreeance with talking to a therapist. The questions were worded so that a high score and a low score were flipped. And so that's all this is doing, is just flipping those scores around. And if they chose not to answer, they put 6, and 6 meant to take the data out. And so we put a system missing equals 6. Receptiveness then was added together, and that's what this looks like, is just all the variables added together to get our receptiveness total, which was one of the metrics that we used in our study. Scrolling down just a little bit more, you see that for barriers, we didn't use that in this study, but we found the mean of all the barriers of the different areas of barriers that we researched. This one was just summed up, and so you get to start to see the pattern is a lot of them just needed to be added up. This one, if they picked 4 on any of these, then that was also a missing data point that we needed to put. And then we started to categorize people also in different depression categories and so on. And all those variables are going to pop up at the end of this list over here on the left after we run this code. I think all this is stuff that I've explained before. This is the Golden Leisure Time questionnaire, and notice that it is weighted, so all the time that took place in the vigorous category was multiplied by 9 for approximately 9 METs of the level of physical activity that they were at, or at least the intensity. 5 is for moderate, and then 3 is for light physical activity. So this makes it so you can kind of also see a little bit into the quality of their physical activity. This is to calculate all of it. This is to calculate, I believe, a estimate for the week, and then this is to calculate without the light. We only used the one that calculated all 3 for this study. Calculated included all 3 for the study. We also found BMI, converting the height and weight to metrics, and then we did a BMI calculation, which was height divided by weight times total height. It's weight divided by height times total height. So, and then we categorize people into BMI. This is where we started to separate different variables and find frequencies. So we have the straight, not straight variable, and then we had to get the frequencies of this just to see how many people were in each category of straight or not straight. Same with like gender, age, etc., so we can make our demographics. So this is pretty much setting up all the demographics. This right here, this section is to start to analyze if there's any skewness or if there is any outliers. The only one that we had outliers for was BMI, but we checked all of our metrics that we kept in this specific project, just to see if there's any crazy outliers. Then this section is recoding a categorical variable into dummy variables, where transgender female is known, or not known to be, not transgender female. Cis female was the one that we decided was the standard to compare all the other ones with, because we had the most cis female responses, and so that's what we use the dummy variables to code for. And so when we go back and run the analysis, it's comparing, say, a cisgender male to how common or likely it'd be for a cisgender female to have the same issue. And so you'll see in the paper that's kind of what we explain. And then we just decided to include everything that was not cisgender into one category, because we only had, I think, a total of 45 people in that category with them all combined. So that way we just had more of them in one category instead of like 5 transgender males, I think was how many transgender males, so we put them all in one. And then this is where we start to run some regressions and we start to see some beta values. So all these are starting to give us outputs for beta values that we're going to put into our table 3, and then this last one is this is for table 2, this is for table 3, and this is the graph you see at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and run all this, and then you'll start to see all the new variables start to pop in over here, and then actually it outputs for us in this nice little output thing. I'm going to minimize the syntax for now. In this nice little output thing, it starts to tell you all the different things that it did. So let's click on, let's see. Oh, I'm just going to run it one more time. No. I'm just going to run the syntax one more time just to be safe. Sometimes it takes a double. Okay, let's see what it did. So here's our descriptive statistics for these different groups. We were able to use these statistics to put all of our data into those tables for the future. Right now, I think this document too is frozen, unfortunately, so I'm just going to exit out of it, and hopefully it doesn't crash the whole program. Yeah, it did crash the whole program. So I guess that might conclude our tutorial, unfortunately, but that's how you run SPSS, and that's how you'll be able to see the data that we saw with this project. Thank you, and have a good day.